On September 10th, 1966, I woke to every mother's nightmare. I found my 20-year-old Ian dead in his bed of an accidental heroin and Valium overdose. Ian was a promising college student with everything to live for. He was bright, he was athletic, popular, and handsome. He was dearly loved by his family and his friends. Drugs destroyed his life. This is a quote from Ian's mother after she found her son dead from a drug overdose. There is terrible drug abuse affecting our nation. All races, genders, levels of society have been affected. As a kid, you are peer pressured into many things. By the 8th grade, 28% of adolescents have consumed alcohol. 15% have smoked cigarettes, and 16.5% have smoked marijuana. When I was in the 8th grade, I was more worried about what new outfit I'm going to wear to school or where the next sleepover will be, not drugs. It's crazy to think that each year, kids are being introduced to drugs at a younger and younger age. Drugs are not only hurting them, but it's hurting their friends and families around them. Even though you may not be interested in drugs, and if someone asks you, you always say no. But what if your friend does drugs? Or what if your sister starts doing drugs, or your brother? Does it affect you then? Or what if you're at a party and you're the new kid and you're trying to make friends and everyone there is smoking marijuana and they say, oh, you have to do this or you have to leave, you're not cool. What happens then? These are all scenarios that can happen to any single one of us in this room. Even if you aren't doing drugs, you should care. You should listen to what people have to say. You should listen in health class when they tell you what drugs can do to you and how they can harm you and your family. You should listen to your parents when they tell you to just say no. Abusing drugs not only affects you and your life, but the ones around you too. We are going to discuss how abusing drugs is a problem with kids today, the programs and education on drugs, and how being educated on drugs may not only help you, but your friends and family too. Let's begin by discussing what drug abuse actually is and how it affects us. Drug abuse is a huge problem for teens today. 65% of high school seniors smoke pot daily. That is over half. That number has gone up 5.1% over the past 5 years. The percentage of teens using drugs regularly has gone up over the past 5 years. About 55% of high schoolers think that trying the drug just once won't even hurt them. They won't get addicted. Not only are these numbers increasing, but us teenagers think that drugs can't hurt us, that we are invincible, that just trying it, it's no big deal, we're just trying new things. Well, in fact, we're wrong. If you try crack, or you try heroin, or you try meth just once, you can become addicted. These drugs are harmful and can badly affect your life. Teens may think that just one smoke or one hit will only hurt them. They're only harming themselves, right? But what happens when that teenager gets behind a wheel and they crash their car into a tree and they kill themselves or, severely injured? But what happens if they end up hitting an oncoming vehicle with a family of 4 in them and they end up killing that family? They have to live with that for the rest of their lives. Was that worth it, just getting high, to end up killing an entire family just to get high? In 2010, there were 38,329 teens dead from drug overdoses. To think that was 7 years ago, and that number of deaths increases every single year. These kids never got a chance to live their lives, to get a job, or to get married and have a family. Doing drugs not only affects your body, but it affects your future too. I brought with me today a picture of Jovan Brown. He stated that at 18 years old, he had it all. He had the best of friends. He had an amazing family. He was heading off to college with great scholarships. He was living life. But at age 22, Jovan lost everything. He decided that drugs were more important than his college, his family, his friends, and he wanted to get high. He gave up his whole life just to get high. Sadly, Jovan died at age 24 from a crystal meth overdose. At one point in his life, he was happy. He was content. He had it all. And all it took was him to get high just once to lose everything. The problem is not just the drugs anymore, but people are jeopardizing their futures and they're hurting their families just to get high. Our problem is drugs and overdosing, right? But how do we fix that? There are a lot of programs out there to help those who are addicted. There are also education on drugs that can be taught in school. Sometimes having your friends and family being there to motivate you to stop doing drugs or just say no isn't really enough. That's why there are programs and there is education out there for us. One way to stop people from even starting drugs is education. I know being in high school that we require at least 2 health classes, and during those times I remember doing presentations on drugs and what they can do, and after doing that I don't even want to go near them, knowing how they can just harm myself and how it affects family members and friends. There are also books and articles that you can read up on just to educate you and yourself on these drugs. I believe that having knowledge on what the drug does and how it can harm you will keep you away from drugs. And even having knowledge on it, and say your friend wants to start and they don't know anything about it, you can tell them what it does. Not only can education in schools help, but having parents talk to their kids is also very helpful. It is said that teens who learn about the drug abuse from their parents, even before the education, are already 50% less likely to start illegal substances. There are also many programs for people who have become addicted to these drugs and want help. One program in particular, today I brought with me as their business card, is the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Service Association. This program requires like a family member to check them in, but there are also programs where the person themselves checks them in and they're not required to stay there because they believe that in order for them to get help they have to admit that they have a problem. Another way to solve this problem is maybe having someone who has experienced addiction or has lost someone close with addiction to come speak at schools or to speak at events. I remember we had this lady at our school come and speak, and she talked about how she was abused as a kid, and it really impacted me because it made me realize this can happen to anyone. People being addicted to drugs can happen to anyone. It could be someone sitting right next to you. It's not something that's just on TVs or on the movies and on TV shows. It is happening in real life. This creates more of an impact on students, I think, because it makes them realize that we aren't as invincible as we think we are, and that addiction is real and it can happen to anyone. So we have our solutions to drug abuse, but will they even work? Is education going to stop kids from doing drugs? Being educated will help you, and it will help a friend of yours who may be doing drugs and they don't know about it, but studies have shown that education in school have stopped people from trying drugs. This is where communities should start holding events and starting clubs to get the word out that drugs are bad, that us teens are not invincible. They should make at least one health class required so people learn about drugs and know the effects of them. Even though addiction is hard to overcome, it is possible. Sometimes education does not get through to everyone and people still continue to do drugs. Luckily, there are people who care for us and will help us. That's when the program comes into place, to help those in need. I have explained why drug abuse is so bad and how it affects everyone. And we now know that drug abuse is and how it affects us and what we can do to stop it. Education may not be the answer to ending all drug abuse, but it is a start and every little bit helps.